Good afternoon, and today we will go with section 3. Let's begin. Good afternoon, leader and pastor. Welcome to section 3, part 1. We have gone over the theology of conflict, how a conflict can occur, models on making change in churches to improve the churches, and now we will discuss how to resolve a conflict before it arises. Shall we begin? I guess we'll begin. Shall we begin? First, we need to learn how to resolve a conflict in a biblical way. After all, we are to represent Jesus and bring His kingdom to the earth. Let's look over Matthew 18, 15 to 17. If your brother sin against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, then you have gained your brother. But if he does not listen, make one of you other alone with you, that will sure may be established by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. If he refuses to listen to them, then tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen, even to the church, then let him be to you as a gentle. As a collector. Let's go over each verse. When someone is against you, you go tell him that he sinned against you in private, not in public places. For example, if someone sinned against you, you could go to that person. You set a time to meet when no one is around to talk about the sin that the person has done and explain how you felt when the person sinned against you. Yes, it's okay to talk about how that sin made you feel. God creates feelings, and I'm sure that He wants you guys to feel them, but do not let it control you. If that person refuses to listen and repent, let's look at the second verse. This is where you bring a mentor, pastor, counseling, or peacemaker to help you to deal with this person who sinned against you. Peacemaker is when a person helps you another person to solve the conflict or the sin that the person has made against you. It must be a person who you trust, is a follower of Christ, and who can bring resolution and help you and the party who find a solution that works for you and the other party. Now that you brought a peacemaker to help you to solve the conflict resulting from sin with the person who did that sin, but that person refused to repent, it brings us to the third verse. This meaning tells the people who are the head of the church, like who are the church pastor or the people who oversee the church. Hopefully it does not reach this far. However, if it does, it is best to set a meeting with those people overseeing the church, the peacemaker, you and the other party, and hopefully that person sinned against you to repent. Once again, hopefully that person who sinned against you repent before reaching to this verses. However, if that does not work, having the people who oversee the church see him as an unbeliever, and may have to let him go of the church duties until he sees his sin, that back to you and repent his sin. Welcome to section 3, part 2. 4G by consent. I think this model everyone should be used in the church, professionalized and personalized, because this model will help every conflict that you have in your life to be resolved before it hits worse. Then we are called to represent Jesus in everything that we do. It is better to represent Jesus in every conflict that we have. Also, this model helps you find resolution for conflict before it rises. Let's go over the first one. That is, Holy God. According to James and his book, the peacemaker, glorify God means asking yourself like how you can please and honor God in the situation that you are in. Ask God to help you honor and please Him in a situation where you are facing or will face. Be able to show His love through you in conflict. We are meant to glorify God in everything that we do. Now let's look over the second G. That is, get the log out of your eyes. Vincent Flame, and in his book, The Peacemaker, ask yourself how to show Jesus work in you by changing responsibility for any contribution to the conflict that you are in. This also means asking yourself if you have sinned that it causes the conflict as well. If you have so, then they repent and ask for forgiveness to God. They go straight to the person. You repent, ask forgiveness to God, and go straight to the person. Now let's go with the third G. Gender restore in Hanson's book, Peacemaker, meaning asking yourself, asking questions on how you can serve others, especially the person who sinned. By helping them, you take responsibility for the contribution to the conflict that you are facing. Ask God to help you serve others in a loving way and help them to see their sin and in consequence. When you prepare to help another person, take responsibility for the sin, loving and correct them. King Stanley called it the golden stop, which means confessing when you did something wrong. God correct you, and you share that confession to the person who sinned. I think that the core person is intentional too, because when people do not admit the wrong to other people who are wronged and only focus on the wrong thing, that will make a person feel terrible and worthless. The person who was correcting should also admit that they have been wronged as well, so the person who did wrong does not feel like they're the only one who do the wrong thing and can say Jesus that have forgiven them for the wrong thing, so they could go back to Jesus, repent, and do what Jesus calls them to do. Now let's look at the last G. Go and be recondolous. I will put in a caption. This is where you ask yourself how you can demonstrate God's forgiveness and encourage a reasonable solution to the conflict that you are facing. This is where you forgive the person who sinned against you and then causes the conflict, and hopefully that person forgive you if you commit a sin that causes the conflict as well. If that person does not forgive you right away, then give them time to forgive you. Whenever that person does, then go ahead and rebuild the relationship and let go what happened. Like what happened before. Many people will still bring up the old sin committed and are not already forgiven. But the person who keeps bringing it up, bringing old sins that are being forgiven, can cause the relationship to be broken again. God does not bring anything up when He's forgiven us. So we should not bring our own sin when we have forgiven, because God does not bring anything to us that He has already forgiven us for. Welcome to section 3, part 3. That's all I felt I really no remember just in the morning. Welcome to section 3, part 3. We will talk about 3 primary ways that people respond to conflict and intentional because I think I left my notes out. Blink. Okay. I think that because people should know how other people will respond to the conflict, so they can be aware. Kim said in his book, The Peacemaker, explained 3 ways of how people responded to the conflict, and he called it the slippery slope of conflict. The slippery slope of conflict. On the left side of the slope, did you see in the image? Well, let's pretend we have an image. Also, but you can also Google it up in Google, type the slippery slope of conflict, and you can find it on Google what I mean by that. That's mean the image. So, on the left of the slope, you can see the inner image that we see cave responses. In the middle, we see peacemaking responses. On to the right, we see attack responses. Let's go over to the left side of the slope, which is cave responses. Cave responses is when people avoid facing the conflict instead of resolving a conflict. The first one we see is the dino. According to James Sand, the dino is a person present that the conflict is not dead or denying it. This response only brings your relief and then make the matter worse. The second one is flight. The flight is when someone flees from the conflict. Kim Bennett has put some example like leaving the house, ending a friendship, quitting a job, filing for divorce, and changing the church. Again, this is not a healthy way to respond to a conflict unless you are full of emotions that need to be calmed down before resolving conflict, or you are in a violent or threatening consummation that need to be placed away. The third one is suicide. This one when a person lost all the hope to solve a conflict, so they take their own lives. Randy Helm experienced 3 suicides that took in front of a church properly. Please get help immediately when you feel like you lost the hope to resolve a conflict or anything else that makes you think there is no hope. Additionally, when you get suicidal thoughts, mental health does matter, and it does matter to God as well, not just spiritually. Now, we will go over the right side of the slope. Let's talk about attack responses. Attack responses are when the people are more interested in winning conflict than restoring a relationship. The first one is assault. Kim stated that assault means some people will try to overcome the opponent by using various forms like verbal attack, slander, gossip, physical violence, or damaging the person financially or professionally. This is a dangerous way to deal with the conflict. The second one is litigation. This is when a person takes another person to court. Some cases are principal taking another person to the court, but usually conflicts are minor, so they are no need for the court. So it's better to deal with conflict without the involvement of the court. The relationship that can be restored when it's between 2 persons involved peacemaker. Bringing court can cause the relationship to be severely damaged. Kim prefer to solve the conflict in the church instead of court. It is better to solve conflict without having court involved because conflict can be so quickly resolved when 2 people communicate and understand each other better. The third one is more, of course, this is not the way everyone should deal with the conflict. This means when someone kills somebody else. In his book, Sanders says that having anger and contact stored on our person is then guilty of murdering God's eyes. Now let's look at peacemaking responses. This is when people are facing conflict. These people are called peacemaking. They're commanded by God, powered by the gospel, address the door, finding a just and sensible solution for the conflict. And it stated that the first 3 are personal peacemaking because only between you and the other party privately talking about the conflict. The first one is to overlook an offense. This is when a conflict is so minor that it should be overlooked. Ken Stanley in his book Peacemaker overlook an offense as a form of the forgiveness. This involves deciding that you will not talk about it, think about it, and dwell on it. They will ever be angry or bitter about it. The second one is reclamation. This is when an offender that has been damaged and relationship cannot be overlooked. You talk with that person about the conflict and restore the relationship by confessing, loving, correcting, and forgiveness. The third one is navigation. This is where you find a solution for the conflict between you and the other party, and work together to see what the perfect solution will work for you and the other party. Also, it's working to issues that need to be fixed once the relationship is restored. Also, exploiting the issues that need to be figured on once the friendship is restored. Kim Fanning claims that if its disputes cannot be resolved to a personal peacemaking responses, its goal as this is peacemaking. This is when you bring someone else to solve a conflict. And find resolution to solve the conflict. The first one is meditation. This one a person has to bring someone else as a peacemaker to find resolution for the conflict and help the other person to understand, but in a loving way. Also help the people to find a solution that works for both. The second way arbitration. This is similar to many things, but when you and the other person cannot agree on an issue, bring somebody else who can help you find an agreement that will work for you and the other party. The third one is accountability. This one person claims to be a Christian, but refuses to be reconciled and do what is right. You can hold that person accountable to the scripture and bring that person to the head of the church. Hopefully, the loving responsibility restore the relationship with you and the party. Well, and all the mistakes that happened to guys in this seminar. Hopefully, you learned many mistakes from the seminar. Please feel free to take the Peacemaker book written by Ken Shannon and the Heart of Shame book written by John Cotton. They will help you a lot when you decide to make a change in the church and need to resolve a conflict. Go be a peacemaker and change agent. Let's pray together. Well, thank you guys for listening to me about this online virtual seminar. And hope you guys have a great night. And see you later.